Hi, I wanted to give you a little overview on how to get started with the vector silhouette assignment and give you a couple of tips that'll help make your project successful. So the objective here is to try to take a reference photo that we took with a GoPro and turn it into a vector silhouette that you can then start adding more detail to eventually get yourself to a level of sophistication that hopefully will make it look like a piece of art by the time you're done. And here's where it all gets started. Number one, I think you're going to want to find your way to where your original photo was and download it. Now I've stored this on a Google Drive, and you can look for links in your email that'll get you to this Google Drive. It's been shared with you already if you're in my class. I'm going to download the picture of me as a reference with a right mouse click, and I've already downloaded it once, so you know what, actually don't really have to, so cancel that for now. Now, back to Photopea. Photopea is going to let us open that, and the first thing we're going to want to do is crop it because it is a massive file. It's a, I think, 12 megapixel photo. And we're going to want to crop it to a very specific size. So I'm going to use the cropping tool, and don't use just a free crop. You want to go to a fixed ratio of 11 by 17. And once you do that, you can start to crop this as though you are composing it, like a piece of photography. You want to fill that frame as best you can. You don't want to waste a lot of pixels on the background. So bring it in as tight as you can without getting things crossing over onto the outside. But you know what? I think that's probably where my frame is going to be. And then double click. The file size at this point in time has gotten significantly smaller. It's not any particular, everybody's going to have a different resolution, but it's going to be good enough. And I'm going to go File, and I'm going to go Save as PSD at this point in time. And I'm going to save mine as May Silhouette 2020. Use your last name, Silhouette in 2020. That's just a really good idea. And yeah, I'll replace that. Not a terrible idea as well, just to export that initial picture, that initial JPEG. And I can see what the resolution actually is. It's 868 by 1341, it turns out. I'm going to save that as a JPEG as well, just to have that as an original reference to. And I've got that in place now. So now, as we work on this vector, because it's a vector, it doesn't really matter that we blow it up to full poster size. Normally I'd make it a whole lot bigger with a resolution of 200 dpi. I'm not going to worry about that. And if you don't know what dpi means, don't worry either. You're using vectors, and vectors can scale easily when you want to print them. So all I'm going to really get started with is I'm going to lock this initial layer because I don't want to have any disasters with it. And I'm going to build my first layer and name it, and this is going to be called Silhouette. And you get good at spelling silhouette after a while. If you know your shortcut keys, this gets pretty easy. I'm going to use the pen tool. I'm going to zoom in. I'm using Control and Spacebar, and I'm going to pick a point to start tracing an outline. I'm going to use the pen tool there. I'm going to have no fill. I like to use a red stroke so it's really easy to see, and I like to make this super fine so it's actually, less than a point wide. And now I can start on that silhouette layer tracing the Bezier curves that are going to help me create the silhouette. And I'm going to eventually trace around the entire character. And when it gets to really detailed points, I use Control Spacebar and I zoom right in to get lots of detail and pull some good curves. And the better you make these details, well, the classier this whole thing's going to look. And if you have to zoom out, I use Control Alt Spacebar to zoom back out so that when I get to these big points, I don't have to waste time going around really meticulously. Do pull curves. I've seen students who will do this. They'll just go click, 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 click. Lots of points all the way around. That's not a good outline. Eventually, you get all the way around and you can change the fill to black. And I've got a little sneak preview of that and where that's going. So here's the example. In this particular case, an old reference that I had. You'll get yourself a black outline and you can give yourself a white background. And turning on and off the visibility of these layers will let you go back and refer to your background layer again so that you can add skin layer. And after the skin layer, you might want to add a hair layer. Now, this is pretty decent. This is where a lot of my students have gotten to in the past, and it's not a bad look. You can get some good definition. You can really get recognizable characters. But if you want to really start stepping it up and showing not just your competence, but some exceptionality, try adding, a clothing layer and then a shading layer. And when you start adding shading, things start to really pull into the next dimension. This starts to look like a piece of art, and it's totally original. It's all you. And then beyond that, you can add even more, depending on what kind of time you have, adding more detail like highlights, eyes, glasses. you can actually make this thing into a complete vector selfie. And then, anyway about it, you should top it off with some sort of a background and enhancements like shadows to make it look better. So it all started from there, and that's where you're starting right now. Good luck, read carefully, and hone those skills with the pen tool, because it's your answer to doing this in a really smart and efficient way. Good luck.